Watagwan, Watagwan, Watagwan. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday to everyone. Welcome to the show. Tonight's going to be much happier show than last night. Much more positive vibes. So, wonderful Wednesday to everyone. Welcome, Skincare Do's and Don't. Hello, Igwe's daughter. Hello, hello, hello. All right. So, we're going to talk about protein tonight, right? Protein. The most important macronutrient, whether you're trying to lose weight or to build muscle. And without further ado, I think I'm just going to jump right into it.
And I would eat 300 to 400 grams of protein a day.
Up to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight.
I may even go closer to 1.3 grams.
Right now, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
0.82 grams per pound of body weight.
0.75 grams.
0.4 grams times your body weight.
1 gram of protein for every 1 pound of body weight. A lot of people will say that. It's actually not true.
Protein intake of 1.2 grams, kilograms a day.
Wait.
Protein
you said
supplementation.
1.2.
No, I said 1.6, didn't I?
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot of conflicting information about protein out there. So in this video, I want to condense all the best science-based information down to give you a final answer on every protein-related question you've ever asked. First, when it comes to general health, the World Health Organization recommends just 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or 0.36 grams per pound. So an 80...
One thing to keep in mind for these kind of general recommendations from governments or certain institutions, they're going to be kind of conservative. It's for the general population. Somebody's not super duper physically active, i.e. not the people who want to be watching this video.
Kilo, a roughly 180-pound person, would only need about 65 grams of protein per day. This is pretty hard to miss on a typical Western diet. I mean, this ground turkey and rice bowl with a glass of milk has 65 grams of protein, and that would have me covered for the day. However, this recommendation doesn't consider weight training, and many protein experts have called for an increase, given the abundance of evidence showing health benefits with higher protein intakes. And the sports nutrition research is perfectly clear in showing that this amount of protein simply won't be enough to support, much less maximize muscle growth. For that goal, we'll need more. Now, just how much you need depends on if you're bulking, cutting, or doing a recomp phase. And these ranges...
By recomp, we're talking recomposition.
...ranges apply to both men and women. If you're bulking, your body is well fed, meaning it's much less likely to break down muscle tissue as a fuel source. There are plenty of carbs and fats to burn first. For this reason, you generally need less protein when bulking.
Now, a lot of people think the opposite. Oh, I'm trying to get bigger. I got to eat a ton of protein. That's only if you're really trying to get the calories quite high, right? Because you need the carbs and fats to bulk. It's not just the protein, right? It's not just protein. So ironically, because those other things get higher, the carbs and the fat, you actually need less protein. When you really need a good amount is when you're cutting, as you'll see later on in the video.
Here, the best research recommends 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo, or 0.7 to 1 gram per pound per day.
Now, one caveat here, there are some studies that show as you get older, you will need more protein, because as you get older, nothing works quite as well, right? That's when you were young. It's just how life goes. So maybe 1.2 up to, say, maybe 1.5. It's a case-by-case basis. You can always play around with it yourself. But upper limits of, say, 1.2, that is not abnormal at all.
And here we can see the trusty old 1 gram per pound rule holding up pretty well as a high-end figure. So if you weigh 180 pounds or 80...
Notice, or pay attention, to all the meals you're going to see during here, none of them look, again, like prison food, right? There's this myth out there that to look good or to be healthy, you have to eat things that taste terrible. That is totally inaccurate. You can eat food that tastes good, look good, smell good, and you can look really good and you can be healthy. You know, the motto on this channel is look great, feel even better. It can be done.
Kilos, you'd want something between 125 and 180 grams of protein per day when bulking. On the other hand, if you're cutting, your body's not only getting fewer calories from food, you also have less body fat and less glycogen as fuel reserves. Therefore, your body is much more likely to break down muscle tissue as a source of calories. To offset this, the best data suggests increasing protein intake while cutting to 1.8 to 2.7 grams per kilo, or 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound.
This is what I was talking about earlier, right? when you're cutting, that's when you may need more protein. For sure, it's satiating. When you're cutting calories, just think about it, right? If you eat big piece of chicken, big piece of steak, you feel full, right? You feel that food inside you. So when you hardly have much food to eat, you want a lot of protein, right? That'll keep your sanity.
And this time we can see that the classic 1 gram per pound rule sits in the middle of the range. If you're already very lean and training very hard, you'll want to err toward the upper end, but if you have more body fat and are training more recreationally, the lower end will be plenty. Thirdly, when on a recomp phase, you're trying to build muscle and lose fat at the same time while setting.
Note that this is not a myth. Some people think it's impossible to gain muscle and lose fat. For many years, it was thought it was an impossibility, right? And people thought, hey, when you lose fat, you'll actually lose some muscle. If you don't do it correctly, yeah, you will lose some muscle, right? But you can actually lose fat and gain muscle. I did this. Went up 30 pounds in the good direction and down 40 pounds in the bad direction, right? That's called recomposition.
Your calories around maintenance.
And you're not transforming fat to muscle. That's impossible. You can't perform that kind of alchemy. Fat does not convert into muscle.
Intake. So I think most people can simply use the same protein figures as when bulking, because at maintenance, you're also at a low risk of muscle loss as long as your training is on point. However, there may be some advantages to going a bit higher on a recomp phase, especially if you're in a slight deficit or more advanced. In the past, I've used this sliding model as a guide for recomp because it uses lean body mass instead of total body weight, making it more individualized, especially for those who hold more body fat. However, the extra step of subtracting your body fat did confuse some people, so these days I've come up with a simpler solution via researcher Eric Helms. If you're overweight or obese, you can simply aim for 1 gram of protein per centimeter in height. So if you're 6 foot or 183 centimeters tall, you'd want around 183 grams of protein. This works shockingly well, especially if you're at a higher body fat. The answer to the question, how much protein can you absorb in a single meal?
Trick question. What do you guys think? How much protein can you enjoy in a single? As usual, if you get it right, I will cash out you some money. $20. Can anybody guess how much protein can you absorb in a single meal? I need a counter or something to go ding ding, like Jeopardy or something. Can you guys guess in the chat? Come on. Somebody's got to guess. Somebody I'm sure can get this right. How much protein can you absorb? Got 30 grams from skincare do's and don'ts. Okay. It's 1 so far. What else? Hey, B. Paulie, welcome to the show. How much do you think? How much can you absorb? Yaya Suber, welcome to the chat. 10 grams. All right, we've got 2 submissions so far. Hello, Wizamana. How's it going? What do you think? Angelique is covering her bases by going 25 or 50. I give you a hint. It's a surprising answer. I'll give you that much. That's your one clue. It's a surprising answer. Yeah, I need something with drum roll. Something like that. Okay, let's continue on. Let's see if any of you guys got it right. Oh, positive therapist, 20 to 25. All right, let's see if any of you guys got this right.
Is all of it. Your body can absorb an
all of it. See? So you got to eat a lot of protein, man. Got to eat enough protein.
enormous amount of protein in a single meal, more than you could even comfortably eat. But absorption simply refers to the passage of nutrients from the small intestine into the bloodstream. Just because protein is being absorbed doesn't mean it's being used to build muscle. So the real question is, how much protein can you use in a single meal? And this is where there's some controversy. The earliest research suggested that 20 to 25 grams of protein in a single meal.
I think this is what you guys were thinking. So to be fair to you, you were on the right path, but it's still a little higher though in terms of the usage.
Was all you needed to max out the anabolic response, and going above that didn't do anything extra for muscle growth. However, I'm skeptical of this figure. First, on the anecdotal side, there's a huge intermittent fasting community who seem to be getting plenty jacked from just eating 1 or 2 meals per day with upwards of 50 to 100 grams of protein per meal. does seem unlikely to me, given their muscularity, that most of that protein is going to waste for these folks. Second, more recent research has challenged the idea of a 20 to 25 gram upper limit. This 2016 study showed higher muscle protein synthesis with 40 grams of whey versus 20 grams of whey after a full body workout. And this 2016 study showed greater muscle protein synthesis from a meal of beef containing 70 grams of protein.
70 grams of protein from some beef. See what I'm talking about, man? So, it's funny, right? How in the real world, people can be doing things for a long time, maybe decades, centuries even, and then science slowly catches up, right? Because for the longest time, science said 20, 25 grams. But then you have these humongous muscular guys eating way more than that, right? Science said, and naturally the scientists themselves were not muscular, ironically. But I noticed when I was eating well over a gram per pound of body weight, like up to 1.5, I felt stronger in the gym. And I lifted stronger and I recovered better. So sometime back in the day when I started looking into this stuff, I never followed even that 1 gram thing. Again, it's case by case basis, but anecdotally, right? If you see a whole bunch of dudes who are incredibly strong and very muscular and they're doing something and science said to do the other thing, you should question the science, right? You should use your critical thinking, question the science.
Versus 35 grams of protein. So the amount of protein we can use per meal isn't clear as of now, but it's likely higher than we used to think. And regardless, I think that your protein intake per meal is clearly much less important than your protein intake per day.
Exactly. I mean, think about it, right? Back in the day, when our ancient ancestors go kill an animal, it's not like they cut up part of the deer or the antelope or whatever and said they were going to put it in the fridge, right? They had to devour that stuff. I mean, the tribe would devour it, but they had to just devour it as much as possible. It's like a lion. They go kill something, they eat as much of it as possible. They don't put away something later for a snack.
Now, despite this, most experts do still suggest that spreading your protein out across 3 to 5 meals is likely best from both a digestion standpoint and for keeping muscle protein synthesis high throughout the day. Still, if you were to eat 2 meals or 6 meals instead, you will still build muscle as long as you're hitting your daily protein target. I just suspect it might not be quite as optimal. Protein quality is partly based on the amount of the amino acid leucine. Leucine is very important because it is the so-called trigger for stimulating mTOR, which
Leucine is the super duper amino acid when it comes to building muscle.
Then triggers new muscle growth. So let's take a look at how much of different protein sources you need to eat to hit 3 grams of leucine, which is a decent ballpark figure for maximizing the anabolic response to a meal. So
notice at the top, whey gives you said 3 grams, but notice the caloric intake, only 145 calories, right? This is why protein shakes, particularly post-workout or pre-workout, depending if you can't have a pre-workout meal, is so important, right? Especially if you're trying to cut calories. There's this balancing act, right? Oh, I need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, to burn fat. But how can I get enough protein and not eat too much food, right? It's this delicate balancing act. Because remember, it's all about the laws of thermodynamics, right? We believe that on this channel, right?
In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
And you may not like that, but it doesn't really matter what you think. Don't believe me? Just listen to The Rock.
It doesn't matter what you think.
Exactly.
in the table here, you can see that whey protein comes out on top. In just 29 grams of whey protein, you'll be getting 3 grams of leucine, and for just 145 calories. You can also get 3 grams of leucine and 40 grams of protein from chicken breast, and that would only cost you about 200 calories. Moving down the list here, you can see that you'd need to eat over 2,000 calories worth of whole wheat bread to hit 3 grams of leucine.
Whole wheat bread is so overrated, so overrated.
So it would take this much bread to give you the same anabolic punch as this scoop of whey protein powder.
Shout out to the protein powder.
And as a general trend, animal sources of protein are higher in leucine than their plant-based counterparts, especially per calorie. However, this issue nearly goes away once we introduce vegan protein powders like soy, pea, and brown rice isolates.
This is why I usually say, you know, when you guys, I think B-Paul, you had the question the other day, my default with guiding vegan, vegetarian is always to just go back to some kind of vegan protein shake if you're trying to get enough protein. It's difficult to do it without that, right? We're trying to hit your amount of leucine.
Which also offer 3 grams of leucine for less than 200 calories. But leucine isn't the only factor that matters for protein quality, because even though leucine will always spark the new muscle growth, you still need the other 8 essential amino acids, or EAAs, to actually build the new muscle. For EAAs, we use something called the DIAA score, where the higher the number, the more EAAs that are in that protein source. Once again, you can see that dairy and animal proteins come out on top. But a very important caveat is that these tables all refer to proteins being eaten in isolation. In the real world, people combine various different foods and are almost guaranteed to get enough leucine and enough EAAs by simply getting enough total daily protein. So this isn't something I personally nitpick over, and it's why I think protein quality is actually much less important than many people realize. It's also why leucine, BCAA, and EAA supplementation usually isn't necessary as long as total daily protein is sufficient. However, vegan lifters
Now, I'm going to slightly disagree with Jeff there on that. I agree with 99% of what he says, right? But when it comes to working out, taking EAAs and BCCAs, that definitely can make a difference. You can feel the difference. Back to talking about long workouts, hour and a half, or whatever. There is clearly a difference. You just have more amino acids in your bloodstream, right? Again, there's science and then there's practical real world applications. Granted, he's big on real world applications too, but in terms of working out the EAAs and BCAAs, that can make a difference. I've had several people try them and they can feel it as well. So I know I'm not going crazy. And my coaches had me on those things as well.
Should be a bit more strategic by either erring toward the higher end of protein ranges and or supplementing a high quality, high leucine protein supplement, such as so-called vegan whey, which combines pea and brown rice protein to give it a similar amino acid profile to whey protein. Many people still believe that if you don't eat protein within 30 minutes after training, your entire session was wasted. But this idea was debunked years ago. In reality, as long as your pre-workout and post-workout meals are within roughly 4 to 6 hours of each other, you'll be maximizing the anabolic response to training. A possible exception to this would be if you train fasted, in which case you should try to consume some protein as soon as you can after your workout. Perhaps a more important but less discussed timing variable is consuming protein before bed. The study from my friend Jorn Trommelen and his colleague Luc Van Loon describe pre-sleep protein as an important protein feeding opportunity. They suggest consuming roughly 40 grams of protein before an overnight fast to improve overnight muscle protein synthesis. This is personally what I aim for. Granted, 2 other longitudinal studies that directly tested consuming a slow digesting casein protein either before bed or in the morning found no significant difference after 8 to 10 weeks. However, both of these studies had subjects consuming a very high protein intake overall in the range of 2 grams per kilo or about 1 gram per pound, once again highlighting that as long as total daily protein intake is sufficient, these specific timing factors are much less important. There are also no legitimate safety concerns around a
You notice, right? He keeps harping on total protein consumption. What are you doing, 3 meals a day or 5 meals a day? Logistically speaking, it's generally easier to get these numbers in 4 or 5 meals. So let's say you weigh 180 pounds and you're trying to get 180 grams and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's a really big breakfast. You may not be that hungry when you wake up. It's a pretty big lunch. You can probably do it for the dinner, right? But that's 60 grams per meal. Now, if you split that at a fourth at a shake, right? Now that average comes on drastically. You had a 5th meal, say the shake was pre-workout or post-workout, let's say, and then you have dinner. And all of a sudden, it's so much more manageable, right? Because any of you guys have tried to do this before, you know it's hard to catch up on meals, right? It's very difficult to catch up on meals. It's just not enough hours in the day, right? Just not enough hours in the day. And this is one of the reasons bodybuilders historically have eaten multiple meals. It's been disproven that it's a benefit in terms of your metabolism, et cetera, but this logistically, as I've said before, for example, you finish your workout, just go eat something as soon as possible. Don't wait because you may run out of time. Next thing you know, you go, oh crap, it's time to get to bed. Oh, wow, look, I've only hit 100 grams today or 140 grams. I weigh 180 pounds. I weigh 200 pounds. I'm nowhere close. Just eat it as soon as possible. You know, you're much more likely to run out of time. Hey, thanks for the super chat, D.I. Grifter. D.I. Grifter with the super chat. No message, just a fist bump. Thank you so much for that super chat. As I always say, I appreciate this. I know it's your hard-earned money or your parents' hard-earned money. But either way, or maybe it's a boyfriend or girlfriend's money. Who knows? But I appreciate it either way. It's somebody's hard-earned money. Thank you so much for that super chat.
High protein diet in healthy individuals. According to this gigantic position stand from the International Society of Sports Nutrition, there is, quote, no controlled scientific evidence indicating that increased intakes of protein pose any health risks in healthy, exercising individuals.
This is very true. There's this myth out there that, oh my goodness, you're going to wreck your kidneys or your liver or whatever, right? But there's no such study showing this in normal, healthy people who are actually working out. Yeah, if you eat a ton of protein and you're not working out, then A, you'll get fat, and B, yes, you'll stress out your body, right? Because it's like you're filling up your gas tank when it's full. What is the purpose? Doesn't matter if you have a high performance car. If you're not driving, why would you keep filling it up? That is pointless. Hey, thanks to the Positive Therapist with a super chat. Shout out to you. Positive Therapist says, Coach, is the key to what you're saying and continue to say is we need to eat more protein. Eat a pre and post workout meal that both include protein and get as much sleep as possible. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's just logistics, right? If you have some idea when you're going to work out, just try to have a meal before. If you can't do the solid meal, do a shake as an example, right? But you got to be honest with yourself. If you weigh 180 or 200 pounds and you know you're going to get, say you're at 100 grams of the day and you're going to get 50 from dinner. So you're short 30 or 50. Where are you going to get it from? You got to be honest with yourself. Just drink the damn shake. You got to get it from somewhere. You can drink the shake immediately after, make it liquidy. So like hour and a half or so later eat dinner, or drink it beforehand, right? Don't drink it during. Don't do that. But you got to get it from somewhere. Don't lie to yourself. You should plan this out. And if you're tracking your calories throughout the day, you will have an idea of what pace you're on so you can make adjustments, right? Maybe you had a rough day at work or you're super busy at school or what have you. You know, so if you're tracking, you will have an idea of what you need to do to stay on track, right? Okay. Let us continue.
And the amount of protein recommended in this video has been shown over decades to not only be safe, but actually have health benefits, even going way above the recommendations here. As high as 4.4 grams per kilo or 2 grams per pound has consistently reported no harmful effect.
So up to 2 grams per pound. So again, you weigh 180 pounds, 360, right? Not telling you to eat 360 grams, but there's some pretty big dudes out there eating a ton of protein. The key part here is that up to that has not shown any problems with people. So there's kind of this myth out there that too much protein is dangerous. Well, too much of anything is dangerous, but you know what I mean.
By far, the most important factor is total daily protein intake. If you're looking to optimize further, you can pay attention to how you distribute your protein throughout the day, with 3 to 5 meals most likely being the anabolic sweet spot. These two factors alone will yield more than 90% of your potential results. However, protein quality can be worth keeping in mind, and protein timing may have some benefit from an optimization standpoint.
Again, if you could time the protein around the workout pre and post and potentially at night, depending on how you structure things, then yeah. Because the reality is it's just a matter of how effective you want to be, right? Let's say you want to lose 2 pounds a week or 1 pound a week. You got to do more to lose the 2 pounds. You got to get every little thing right. Or if you just want to lose 1 or half a pound, then maybe you get most of this correct, right? You want to lose the 2 pounds, then everything's got to be right. The sleep, the nutrition, the workout, the this, the that. You're fine losing half a pound a week, then maybe your sleep is not so great, right? Maybe you're having a couple glasses of wine or something, but you got to make a decision, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too in this scenario.
Standpoint, especially if you train fasted or if you have a really long overnight fast. And before we go, I want to quickly shout out my ultimate guide to body recomp.
Okay, so what do you guys think of all of that? It was short and sweet and to the point. I know we've spoken about diets, nutrition before, but I keep harping on protein, and I figured a show dedicated to protein would get that point across. Hopefully, it's gotten that point across to my regular viewers. If you're new to the show, came in at the right time, or new to the channel, protein. You can screw up on the fats and the carbs, but you cannot screw up on the protein. Remember my first coach, the bikini model, said, just get that protein right. You can eat not enough carbs, too much carbs, not enough fat, too much fat, but do not screw up the protein. That is the number one thing. Don't screw up on that protein. You got to get that number right. That's the one universally most people screw up. Universally, right? What are you trying to transform your body, get bigger and stronger, maintain, whatever you're doing? You get the protein number wrong, it's extremely difficult. And remember, you may say, well, you don't want to do this, blah, 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 blah. Well, again, we'll go back to what The Rock has to say about this, right?
It doesn't matter what you think.
Hey, he said it, I didn't. All right, so let's see. What do we got going on in the chat here? Yes, this is true. You saw all the varying opinions at the beginning of the show, right? Yeah, there's lots of varying opinions on protein. It's changed over the years. Yaya Super says, yeah, that makes sense to need more as you age. Yep, sure does. Sure does. Good evening again, Angelique. And hello, B. Polly. How goes it? Hey, Needs Watches, how's it going? Welcome to the chat. Needs Watches is a pretty cool YouTube channel. Needless to say, it's called Needs Watches. Yeah, Super says, I know most people don't eat enough protein, but you have to be careful not to eat too much. You can fall into ketosis. That is very difficult. Ketosis, no, you're talking something different here. Ketosis is when, for people that are doing keto, right? When the fat content is high and the carbs are super low. I think, or maybe you meant a different word there, but ketosis is when you're running on ketones. That's usually what the people in keto try. But aside from that, I know what you mean about too much protein, but as you saw with the studies, it's very difficult to get too much protein. It's kind of a myth out there, right? Usually if you hear about somebody with bad kidneys or something, that is very rare. And even then, perhaps they were taking certain pharmaceutical aids that negatively impacted their kidney, let's say. Yeah. Now, this part is correct, Yaya Suba. Surplus of anything becomes fat. 100% correct. 100% correct. Again, it's all about the laws of thermodynamics, right? Whether you're trying to lose weight or bulk, as in, for those who don't know, bulking is when the person gets bigger, they just want to get muscles and stronger, and then they lean back down. But that's kind of old school, because the reality is you can gain and lose some fat, or gain and only get a little bit of fat. You don't really need to do the old school bulking where they just get fat and then they shrink down. That is not necessary at all. You can do what they call main gaining. So, yeah. But agreed. It's all about the laws of thermodynamics. Yeah.
In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
Exactly, Homer. Hello, Tony. Good evening. How's it going? B. Pauly asks, what are the pros and cons of impossible meat? I've never heard of impossible meat, but by the sound of it, I'm guessing it's meat that is not meat. Is that what this is? Let me go to Dr. Google. Impossible meat. Impossible foods, meat made from plants. Let's see. If it's made from real veggies, I would say not a problem. Unless they're going to put crazy ass chemicals in there. Let's see, impossible meat ingredients. Impossible burger is made. Is that what you're talking about, impossible burger, or is that separate? I assume you're talking about the impossible burger. Let me know, B-Paul, are you talking the impossible burger, or are you just talking, or is impossible meat something totally different? But let us see. So the kind of soy they're using, leg hemoglobin, no long-term studies on that, does contain soy, which can be estrogenic for men, as in, effeminate. So I would say that's not so good for guys. It's made with GMO. I'm not a fan of the GMO stuff. it's higher in sodium than regular beef. So those are some of the cons, B. Pauly. So you'd have to be careful with the sodium intake. High blood pressure is a thing, right? The pros, alternative to beef burgers, vegan friendly. It's actually similar in taste to beef-based burgers. So in nutrients, including B12, which some vegans can be deficient in, so that's good. Same amount of protein as 80% lean beef, which is good. Okay. Yeah, the one thing, if you're fine with, well, I'm assuming you're not eating this thing all the time, but I'm not a fan of GMO. My whole thing is, why look good and feel bad, or look good and feel bad at some future date in life, right? So I'm all about looking great and feeling even better. So I try to be as organic as much as possible. Yeah, when you eat out, that's different, but yeah. So that'd be my views on Impossible Burger. It's interesting concept, right? Oh, here's something D.I. Grifter says. Lab-grown meat, actual meat, is the future, it seems. Saw today that they're working on lab-grown salmon meat now, not just chicken or beef. Oh, interesting. Interesting. The positive therapist says, yes, I heard Aaron saying that eating too much protein was not good for your kidneys. Yeah, this is a very common held belief, but the science just does not back this up. People tend to just throw these terms willy-nilly about. Because most people don't even track their protein. So how do they know what is too much protein? I'm guessing the typical medical person can't even tell you on a per gram basis what is too much protein. Or they'll default to the FDA or WHO standards, which is other scientific studies have shown is not enough for very active people, right? I agree, Igwe's daughter. The Rock is so ridiculous. The positive therapist says, I can smell what The Rock is cooking. So skincare do's and don'ts says impossible meat tends to be high in fat. Okay, so I didn't see that a while ago on the pros and cons. Okay, many people who do keto use impossible meat. Aha. Interesting. Got it. B. Pauly said, I'll pass on the lab meat. Laugh LMAO. I'll just go fishing. Yeah, D.I. Grifter, that's interesting. Do you know? I don't know if you want to call in and tell us about this. That's just interesting. I know they're trying some stuff with like some kind of artificial salmon that we're going to release in the wild that was supposedly it couldn't procreate, but yeah, hopefully that wouldn't be. Yeah, hopefully nature doesn't take over and it finds some way to procreate. Could that be potentially disastrous? Interesting. I'm going to have to look more into that lab-grown meat. Because are they essentially cloning it? Is it still real meat? I'd be curious to see if it's as healthy as the other one. I would assume not, unless you're cloning the thing. But even then, that is interesting. That is interesting. So many people do keto do Impossible Burgers. Okay. I wonder if they get their protein too high. Kind of with keto, yeah, the fat is high, the carbs are low, and you want to be in ketosis, but they don't eat a ton of protein. That's interesting. But I wonder why people doing keto wouldn't just do regular meat. I mean, they're not vegetarian or anything. Because they're eating eggs, steak, bacon, stuff like that. Why would they bother with the Impossible meat? And not just get the real meat and be done with it. I get it if you're vegetarian and vegan, why you would do the Impossible meat, but I'm not getting it if you're keto, why you would use this. I don't know if you know why positive therapists, why people who do keto do the Impossible meat. What benefits are they trying to get out of it? Because like I said, I see why a vegan or vegetarian would do it, or a pescatarian, I guess. But I don't see why somebody doing keto would do it. That's a puzzle for me. 3D print burger. Yes. That is a good one. 3D printer. You're right. Yeah, man. When we get to Star Trek technology with a replicator, when you're just like, computer, prepare one burger, that's when I'll be fully on board. I mean, the first time I saw that in Star Trek Next Generation, I was like, yeah, the replicator is the most incredible thing ever. We need to invent that at once. At once. At once. All right, so I dropped the link. Let me drop the link again, just in case any of you guys want to actually call into the show. I did this at the beginning and it's pinned, but I've not done it since then. So let me do that, just in case. All right, so I've dropped the link again in case any of you guys have got any comments or questions you want to call in. I mean, it's relatively straightforward, tonight's show. Hopefully, I know the other show the other day, Needs Watchers called in, thankfully, and asked some pretty good questions. Could kind of convert things to layman's terms. I tried to do it during all these videos, but sometimes it's not so easy. But I think this one is relatively straightforward. For sure, most people don't have enough protein. And once you start tracking, you will know. Just shoot for 1 gram per pound of protein at first. Feel free to go a little above that. See if you feel a difference in the gym, right? And also outside of the gym, because that's another thing people don't think about in the recovery. I've had people, again, going back to leg day, where it literally chops 1 day off their recovery. And when they were suffering, their suffering level went down. The legs hurt way less. That's the reason why sometimes you really suffer post-workout, right? Like the next day and the day after, is your body don't have enough raw materials to repair itself. So it's just, yeah, it's suffering. It's as simple as that. It really is that simple. It really is that simple. Because I'm rarely torn up from going to the gym, to be honest. Even when I work out hard, rarely am I torn up. Because I get enough food. Get enough food, right? Wazimana Angelique says, I'm still not eating enough protein. It's actually really not easy. With work, I sometimes don't think about food. Would you recommend just more protein powdered with my meals throughout the day? What I would recommend first and foremost is to use your phone. Use your phone. Do I still have these timers in here? Let's see. Or alarms, rather. I don't have an example of this, but I used to have this. I would show you on the screen, but essentially, it doesn't matter whether you have an Android or an iPhone. Well, some people don't know this. Your alarm function in the phone, you can, when you create an alarm, you make it recurring, you can edit. To don't just make it an alarm, you can put a name. So for example, you can put eat meal 1, eat meal 2, eat meal 3, or eat, or what have you, right? So I would recommend, Angelique, you pick some times what you think you'd want to eat. And if you're not hungry, drink a shake. And just be strategic about it. Just look at what you're typically eating. Look in your MyFitnessPal and say, okay, I'm making up a number. I think you said you weighed like 140, something like that. So let's say you weigh 140 and you're typically taking it 100 grams for the day, right? So you say, okay, I'm eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, and another meal. Then you know you need to find 40 somewhere, right? A shake can give you 40. Typical protein shake is between 20 to 40 grams. If it's 20, just to double the serving, get you to your 40 right there, right? You could do that shake during the day as a snack. You could do it post-workout, pre-workout. You can fit it in wherever, right? You can fit it in anywhere, but you really got to get that number. You know, if you're trying to transform, which I know you are, you're making life very, very difficult. And like you said, it's not easy. I agree. What's easy is understanding the concept, but it's definitely not easy. This is where protein shakes can be a lifesaver, big time lifesaver. Because if you don't have the appetite to eat, you won't do it. But you kind of have to get that protein in one way or another, right? You have to eat the food. There's just no getting around it, even if you're not hungry, right? Aha, D.I. Grifter does this. He names all his alarms. Way to go, D.I. Grifter. So back to Angelique. Yes, more protein powdered meals. Yes, they definitely recommend that, right? You have your vegan protein powder. I think you said you take vegan. Just mix that sucker up. And here's another tip, right? Keep those things everywhere. So for example, in the office, I would have a protein powder there, have one at home. If you're going on the road for a while, just put the container in a bag and your shaker cup and water. Put it in your back seat, the trunk, whatever. right? Because you need to plan ahead. If you know you're going on the road and you're going to be gone 2-3 hours or what have you, and you don't want to be missing meals, right? And if you're not sure, just put it in there. I mean, what is it going to hurt for you to have your protein powder sitting in the backseat? It's not going to hurt you. So just put the thing in there, right? If you don't need it, you don't need it, right? But suppose you need it. Suppose you get stuck in traffic. Suppose something else happens. It just took you longer than you thought. You pull over somewhere in the parking lot where you get where you're going. You're going to leave, open, shake up, go. You're good to go, right? That's one of the things, big things I do is I always travel with some kind of food, right? Unless I'm sure I'll be back in time to eat. You gotta have the food. And as usual, I'm forgetting about asking for likes. So hey, if you haven't hit the like button already, please smash that like button. As I like to say, likes are free. They don't cost you anything. They do not cost you a thing. So feel free to smash that like button. Thank you. The YouTube algorithm likes that. So do I. Igwe's daughter says, so true, my leg days hurt less when I've hit my protein number several days in a row. Oh yeah, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Finally, a real life example. Because I know although you guys have seen the science and you've heard me, sometimes there's probably this little voice in the back of your head going, is this really, do I really need to do this? Well, there you go. Somebody you've seen in the chat for weeks now, right, is telling you that she noticed her legs hurt less when she eats protein, hits her number several days in a row, right? So let the pain be a motivation, man. It already hurts enough to work out and to recover. Why give yourself extra pain? You know, why be a glutton for punishment? Do not be a glutton for punishment. Positive therapist says, Uwezimana Angelique, you are not alone. The struggle is real. My department is going over data. Normally, I'm with clients moving around, walking, going up and down the stairs, not using the elevator. Okay. So Angelique responds, I have my food ready for the entire day. I'm just not actually eating all over it. I'm 446 now. I lost 4 pounds. Yay! Congratulations. Progress. 2 thumbs up for that. Congratulations. That's nice. That's very good. Very good. Very good. Well, you know, you're in the right step building a habit. I told you this example. I gave an extreme example just to prove a point. If you wanted, let's pretend you weren't going to the gym and you wanted to start, you just putting your sneakers by the door will be progress. Or you're packing a gym bag, even if you didn't go. Even just driving to the gym, you drove and you turned around and drove back home. You're making progress. Next thing you know, you may park, get out of the car, walk inside. You may still not do anything. But slowly but surely you're getting there. And slowly but surely you're building this habit. Till eventually, next thing you know, you'll be working out, right? It's the same thing with the eating. You're preparing the meals. Eventually you'll start eating them. And then once your appetite opens up, you'll become ravenous and you'll devour them all the time. And you won't be able to remember. It will seem so ludicrous. The days back in the day when you could only eat twice a day and you'd be hardly eating 800 calories or anything. You'd be like, wow, how did I survive? That's what's going to happen. You're going to look back at that. And you'll be like, how did you manage? Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Tony says, Coach Kirk, after following your advice, I've gotten much closer to my protein goals by using protein shakes. Yep. Shout out to the protein shake. And remember, if you're really not hungry, you can just use a lot of liquid to make it liquidy. And then it's like drinking water, right? You don't need to be hungry to drink it. You just got to view it at that point as medicine. You need to hit your protein numbers. There's no getting around that. You know what The Rock thinks about what you think about not hitting your protein numbers, right? It doesn't matter what you think. It does not matter what you think. Yeah. Oh, Anigua's daughter points out, make sure you're adequately feeling that bundle inside you. I'm guessing that is dedicated to Angelique. Oh, well, I'm not sure if you want to do this. I'm also nauseous from my pregnancy and I'm literally forcing myself to eat. I'm not sure if you should probably be doing that. Assume you're working with your MD on this, correct? You definitely should be doing that with a doctor. I'm not an expert on nauseous and pregnancy at all. But make sure you let your doctor know what you're doing. Definitely, right? And while working out during pregnancy is healthy, also make sure you know what you're doing on that as well. Don't overdo it at all, right? Don't want to overdo it. This is true. Ginger tea is good for this. Have you tried ginger tea? And fennel. Fennel is very good. Fennel tea is very good. Or the fennel seeds. I chew the fennel seeds. Fennel seeds are awesome. They're awesome. You can get those at Whole Foods pretty easily. Let's get the organic fennel seeds. It tastes kind of licorice-y like. I actually didn't like that. I mean, liked the taste of it, actually. Yeah. But ginger is definitely awesome. Ginger and peppermint, they go well together. Peppermint kind of takes the edge off the ginger, too. Yeah. Good evening, Sec Amethyst. Peace to you. Always with peace. I don't know if you guys remember that old sci-fi movie, I Come in Peace. That was a crazy movie. Sec Amethyst. Oh, I'm very disappointed in you. You have still haven't made a protein shake yet. I mean, at least you bought the thing, right? So what's holding you back? You just take the shaker cup, pour water, add shake, gulp, 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 and gulp it down, man. Come on, Sec. I know you're not hitting your protein numbers, right? And remember, that 800 calorie thing is not working. It's not going to work. If you lose weight, you'll be losing muscle with the fat. You're going to crush your metabolism. Then eventually, when you start eating again, you're just going to balloon up, going to blow up. But except it will be all fat that you regain rather. So don't do this. Don't do this. Interesting. Tried everything. Nothing tastes good. Lemons taste good. I have lemon with all my food. Oh, okay. The positive therapist says most pregnant women lose weight in the beginning of their pregnancy. Aha. Sec Amethyst says, try Preggy Pops. It helped me. Hope it helps you. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like something that could be good to help with the nausea. And Igwe's daughter said, definitely discuss at your next OB appointment. I agree. You should always discuss these kind of things with your doctor for sure. Definitely let the doctor know, just to make sure if this is just normal nausea or what have you. Better to be safe than sorry, right? Better to be safe than sorry. All right, I'm going to drop the link one more time. See if anybody wants to call in. See if we got any other questions or comments. Good discussion tonight. It seems like everybody's clearing things. And Sec Amethyst, you remember, we made a deal. So you got what, till next Friday? It's next Friday, right? Oh, no, it's actually this week Friday. Right, it's this week Friday. Yes, because we spoke last week. So Sec, you have what, tomorrow and Friday, that's it? To start drinking your protein shakes? To hit your numbers, Sec? You're cutting it close, Sec Amethyst, cutting it close. You're cutting it close. You're cutting it close. All right. So if you guys have no other questions. So we had a great show today. I think everything was crystal clear, hopefully. But I know implementation is definitely hard. I empathize with you. It was difficult for me too. I told her my first coach, she challenged me. She was like, well, I'm a girl and I eat all this food and I don't weigh. What's a big guy like you can't eat this food? Challenging my manhood. So of course I started to eat the damn food. I can't challenge your womanhood with food. So you'll probably have to think of some better psychological trick to get you to eat the food. Right? That's to you, Sec Amethyst. Anyways, later's my massive. Me I go along now. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that is goodbye, my people. Bam.